Hey, so today I'm going to show you how I made these glasses. Now, I didn't make the glasses, but I did paint them, and here is the final design. So I got these glasses from a client, and she asked me to add a little design to them. She had seen some of my previous work, so she provided these frames to me. I'm going to start by adding a gloss varnish to the base. So after washing the glasses and the frames, I add this thin layer of the varnish. This is going to help the paint stick. And you see I make sure not to get it in the nose area where the glasses will rest. I don't want any of the paint product to be where the skin contacts it, just because it could cause peeling of the paint later. So after putting a layer, I start the design. You can see I'm putting some light dots on the main areas of the glasses, at the corners of the frames and in the middle. And I'm starting a mandala pattern, and these are actually the first glasses I ever painted. You can see I add 6 dots around. I surrounded that white dot with a very light pink color, and I'm going more grayscale here, and then I jump into a deep plum color for the next layer, where I'm kind of drawing these pointing out arrows from the center of the mandala pattern. So I do that for all of the center points where I'm putting this mandala pattern. You can see I drop a dot of paint with the dotting tool and just spread the paint with a sharper pointed tip dotting tool. This one, I wasn't really a fan of how it looked after I made the design, so I just went ahead and used a cotton swab to remove the paint, and just being very careful not to mess up the other dots. And it's a very simple, quick, and easy fix. Anytime I make a little mistake like this, just use a cotton swab and absorb the paint. My next layer of this mandala pattern, I'm adding some dark gray dots in between the edges of those plum colored arrows. And there we have it for those gray dots added to the mandala design. In the next design, I decided to add some curly lines coming from the mandala pattern. So I just felt like this added a fun element to the glasses. Now, it was a little bit challenging as I'm not really used to working with glasses before. It's my first pair I've ever painted. I did have to be careful with how little of a workspace I had for the design, so I really used my thinnest dotting tool to create these lines, going slowly and redoing them as necessary. And for any that I had an issue with, I just used the cotton swab to remove the paint and retry. For the edges, I pulled those gray lines together, and I'm going to create a curly cue that goes along the edge of the stem of the glasses. That's going to show right on the left and right sides of the glasses, so that's why I pulled those two together. And that will be shown momentarily in the video, but after I added those, I added tiny white dots all over the glasses, making them look like a starry night. I just used my small dotting tool, adding it, and not really going in any specific pattern. I just add to the open space and fill it up with these tiny little dots. Now, not all of them were the same size. I didn't feel like it needed that, but if you want all of your dots to be the same size, you probably need to dip in the paint more often than I did. I just take the tool, dot until the paint kind of runs out, re-go over some of those dots, and continue adding them until the whole entire frames of the glasses were full. So here's the part where I tie those two lines we drew from the mandala together to create that final curling line coming from the side of the mandala pattern to the left and right sides of the stem of the glasses. And you can see I go slowly over that design with the dotting tool, and here's the other side. And here's the frame. So I decided that I did want to fill more of the frame out, so I'm going to add those white dots along the top, bottom, and left and right side of the frames. I make sure the dots are even on both sides, and then after it dries, we are ready to varnish again. So the varnish will make the paint glossy, at least this one will. This is a gloss varnish by Deco Art, and I use it in a lot of my crafting. I take a thin flat brush and make sure I do not touch the lenses as much as possible. If I do touch the lenses with the varnish, it's not a big deal. I'll just wipe it off. Alright, and here's the finished product. So this is my first design for glasses. I feel like it came out really well, and there is more to come. So go ahead and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more, and go ahead and leave a like or a comment if you want to let me know what you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next one.